We're live.
Welcome into basketball season. Opening night, 356 basketball games around the country, all divisions 1, 2, 3, including one here at Coleman Coliseum. Final Four team last year, Alabama taking on UNC-Asheville. UAB and Samford already in action in home games. They were NCAA tournament teams. Will be in Auburn on Wednesday as they start their season. Taylor Korn, Jim Dunaway, your basketball embedded reporters for the upcoming basketball season. We're excited to be back.
I can't believe it's already back.
Yeah.
I feel like we just got back from Phoenix.
It does. I don't know if I've unpacked yet.
I mean, keep your bag packed because I feel like we're about to be traveling a lot. But I'm excited. I'm excited.
I'll tell you that little T knew the Final Four destination. I didn't know we were coming down. I was like, God, Phoenix was so fun last year. Where's the Final Four this year? And she instantly went San Antonio. And then we asked Siri, and Siri gave us a weird answer.
Said, yeah, I can't show you that while you're driving. Like,
Yeah.
That's why you ask while you're driving. We're not searching anything. We're trying to verbalize this.
So mybookie.ag, promo code next round. No space there. Put those words together. Play basketball all season long with our friends at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. We're outside Coleman Coliseum because the weather's perfect tonight, but also Alabama's women just beating up on an opener tonight, so they're off to a great start, nationally ranked as well. And then we're about to go inside, so keep following us here on Next Round Live on all of our social platforms for some pregame warm-ups, highlights throughout the game, post-game reaction, all that coming up. Scott Forrester does a great job as well. Not on site, usually back at his house, where he throws out post-game football and basketball throughout the season. We'll do a lot of this. We won't be at every basketball game. We'll be at a lot of them and all the big ones all season long. And we've got some questions. But first of all, just your thoughts before we get into the questions on you've seen Alabama in Memphis and Alabama in Wake Forest, and you've seen Auburn and FAU. So let's start with the team that opens Wednesday night first. You were at Neville on Friday. What did you think of Auburn?
I thought they looked good. It's so hard to get a good feel there. I guess it was their second exhibition game. It was a lot like Alabama and Memphis in the sense of a lot of free throws were being shot. So I felt like it was really hard to get to a good rhythm of the game because play was being stopped so often. But they looked good. Tahad Pettiford, the young freshman, looked as advertised. But then again, once, big games start and you start feeling the pressure of the regular season, especially SEC play.
Yeah.
How will that hold up? One thing that's going to be interesting, I think, is Janai Broome and Dylan Cardwell spent some time on the floor together, which we didn't see a lot of last year.
They started, right? Both of them started the game. Do I remember that correctly?
The second half.
Okay.
They both started the second half. And then Bruce Pearl was actually asked about it post-game, and he said they're still trying to work through all of that and try and figure out how much time we might see of them together on the court. But I think that's something that we'll definitely keep an eye on. And Denver Jones, last season, I guess it was really the SEC tournament, he started getting hot.
Yes.
And he was kind of breaking out a little bit, and he's continued to look really good. That's carried over throughout this offseason. And Charlie Five and Zep Jasper do a basketball show 2 times a week, and Zep went to some practices and said that that's a guy that he thinks that people definitely need to keep an eye on.
So Denver is the guy to keep an eye on. That is thebarnauburn.com, thebarnauburn.com, our team site if you want to follow all that. The Charlie Five, Kyle Rush, and Zesper show weekly as they talk basketballs. All right, we're outside. You're going to have some audio from other folks here as they enjoy the Walk of Champions here outside of the baseball stadium. And they make their way to Coleman Coliseum tonight for a little basketball action. UNC-Asheville here. We actually saw this program in Auburn last year in Huntsville. They play Alabama now. For you Auburn fans, Vermont's playing UAB tonight, and they'll stay in town, travel down to Auburn for a shoot around and open up Auburn season with Vermont, who's a really good basketball team. Bama's about a 26-point favorite tonight at mybookie.ag, 26.5 last check. So Alabama's supposed to handle this, but as we get to your questions, I'll say the thing I'm looking forward to about tonight's game is just seeing how the rotation is handled by Nate Oates, because we saw the rotation of a bunch of talented Alabama players in the 2 exhibition games that were very competitive, but there were 4 guys that were not playing, not dressed. All 4 expected to get quality playing time. Three of those guys are ready to return tonight, and Cheryl, Nelson, and Spreewell, they will play tonight. They will come off the bench. It'll be interesting to see how Nate moves the chess pieces and uses this massive, deep roster rotation wise in a game that counts towards your NCAA tournament resume. Let's get some questions and get ready to go inside for basketball.
All right, our first question is from Tyler, and I don't know if you can see it on the camera shot, but there is some construction going on to the left of Coleman Coliseum, and Tyler asked, will another Final Four finally get the new arena over the finish line with boosters? But correct me if I'm wrong, Nate Oates decided to put, some of that money that I think they were holding for a new arena or a renovation of Coleman Coliseum to NIL. And he's not as focused on that as fans are.
That's right. Nate Oates is about winning basketball games, and he's fine with Coleman Coliseum. It's not high on his priority list. Everybody would love a new anything, right? We all love new things, but when given a choice, they're building a basketball practice facility, a new one. They've already got one. You've been inside a really decent practice facility. They'll be building more basketball practice facility, weight rooms, and things like that. That's what players care about the most. That's where they spend most of their time. They spend 30 times 2 hours, about 60 hours inside the basketball arena playing games. They practice in the practice facility. They lift weights in the weight rooms, the training rooms, and all of that. That's where the money is going in the basketball program now. And Coleman Coliseum will be the home for Alabama, I believe, for the foreseeable future, a long, long time in the future, because NIL is so important right now. Nate Oates, when Kentucky offered him the job, we were at the Final Four. They started sniffing around him, wanting him maybe to be the Kentucky head coach. He didn't ask for more money in his contract. He'd already signed a new one of those. He said, I want some more NIL money. Give me some more NIL money, because that's how you build a roster. That's how you get the roster they have now, and that's how you win championships. So NIL money, much higher on his list than a new arena. By the way, Alabama, according to the folks at Field of 68, about 8th or 9th in the country in NIL. Arkansas is number 1. Kentucky's high up there. Alabama's about 8th or 9th in the country. One of the top 10 NIL programs already when it comes to basketball, and that's how Nate has been able to build these great rosters.
That's what Andy's on the same page as Nate said. We don't need a new arena. Save that money for NIL, which that seems to be what they're doing.
Yeah. And by the way, when the arena's full and the team's winning, it looks fine. It's when it's half empty and the team's losing when it sucks. It doesn't look good.
Yep. All right. This is from Cody. What do you guys think the odds are that we see an Alabama-Auburn matchup in the SEC tournament final? This is hard to tell because it depends on how the bracket's laid out. So,
but you know that you were down at SEC Media Days. Who are the top 2 teams voted on by the meeting?
Auburn and Alabama.
Yeah, actually Alabama and Auburn.
Okay.
Certainly 30 games of this. We're going to do this all year long. Yeah. Alabama and Auburn. Alabama 1, Auburn is 2, voted on by the media. And you had last year Auburn won the SEC tournament championship. They got a ring, they raised a banner, and then Alabama made it to the Final Four. They got a ring, they raised a banner. I think the regular season champion was Tennessee. They got a ring, they raised a banner. I think the SEC goes 9 deep into the NCAA tournament, sniffs a 10th team in the NCAA tournament this year. That's how good this league is. So I think it's a spin of the roulette wheel of whether Alabama and Auburn will play each other in the SEC championship. Here's what I want. I want them to make it far enough to where they play each other in the NCAA tournament. Wouldn't that be crazy?
This state would be in flames if that were to happen. But
remember Duke and North Carolina a few years ago in the Final Four semifinals?
I mean, I wouldn't complain. No. It would be incredible for the state. And that's what Jeremy Scott said. Their basketball school, when we were talking about Auburn and Alabama's basketball school, I don't know if I would go that far yet. But the importance level is definitely making its way towards the importance of football. It's not moving in the opposite direction, obviously.
Well, I mean, football will never change, but no. Taylor, because you follow our social media numbers, the numbers we got off of covering Alabama and Auburn last year were almost equal to the football coverage, right?
Yeah, people are hungry for it.
That's right. So there's a place for it. I joked with a couple of local TV folks who were in there from Birmingham. I used to do that for a living. I was like, what are you guys doing here for a basketball opener in the middle of football season at LSU week? They were like, man, we were over here for the 11 o'clock news conference and we hung around for the 8 o'clock tip. That's a long time. Local TV doesn't like to spend that overtime money.
Mhm.
They're here because the fans want coverage.
All right. Two people asked for sleepers. Basically, I'll take NH3425 says sleeper players for Bama and Auburn. I think Alabama. I don't know if this could be considered a sleeper because I don't think anyone's sleeping on him. But Cliff Morey, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, is Alabama struggled defensively last year. They could outscore almost everyone, but on the defensive side of the ball, that was their weakness, and they fixed that. And they went into the portal, and NATO's got one of the best
Oh, yeah.
options out there.
That was, going into the NCAA tournament, I think that's why it was Florida, if I remember correctly, that bounced Alabama. They had big guys inside. Alabama lost 11 regular season games, and I thought a lot of it was their defense and their inside presence. So they corrected that this year. Big Cliff down there. You'll see Cliff, the big red dogs. That'll be in the student section and on signs all year long. He is a force. He's a big man. Big man.
So that's why I wouldn't consider him sleeper, because I think that everyone's excited about the impact that they know that he can have. But I feel like that will be one of the biggest differences that we see, because that was what the team was lacking last year. Obviously, Mark Sears returning, the best in the country, some say.
This it's not gonna be a sleeper because he was here last year, but I think you will see a different Grant Nelson because he's going to play his natural position now because they've got Cliff. He won't have to play a big man with his back to the rim, right? He'll be able to float on the perimeter and play his game. When he gets healthy, I think you will see an amazing version of Grant Nelson that at times we didn't get to see last year because he was forced to play out of position because of how the roster shaped out. He did it for the good of the team. He's back, and I think you will see a Grant Nelson who's got a smooth shot and a great move to the basket when he doesn't have to worry about playing the big man, where he can play his natural position as a 3 or a 4. I think that will be a surprise to a lot of fans. Like, oh, I didn't know Grant Nelson could play like that. So he's not a newcomer, but I'm going to go Grant Nelson. The version you'll see of him this year is a sleeper and a great compliment to the entree that is at Alabama roster.
All right, Auburn.
You got an Auburn question?
That was just kind of a double. One step. Also, Chaney Johnson's a name that a lot of people are talking about. Again, he's not new, but he didn't get a lot of airtime last year. Not a lot of people were talking about him, and I think he's one of the guys that the staff thinks has made a big jump this offseason, and he'll contribute more.
I'm going to lean on you here because you've seen them in a game now, and I've gone to 2 Alabama full games and an Alabama practice. So you've been to all 3 of those with me with Alabama. I did not go with you to the Auburn game because I was on vacation. So, I always think good things happen to Auburn when Dylan Cardwell is on the floor. So the chance for him to be out there with Janai, I think could help that out. That's something they're looking at.
Miles Kelly's another name. He didn't play in their exhibition game versus Furman. He was sick, no injury. He played last Friday, and he looked good. It's just so hard to tell in these games. And again, they shot, I think, close to 70 free throws. So it was.
Hope that's not an indicator of what we're going to see here tonight against Asheville. A real game. I hope we don't have all the fouls.
But
I'll defer to you on the sleeper. Those names you named are really good names.
I think that's all I'll go with.
Right.
Up until this point.
What else do we have?
Wes says roster management will be interesting this year. So many shooters. Hopefully defense picks up a little bit last year. And I think this is something on the show is how Nate Oates will manage this roster because of how much talent there is. And obviously with talent comes guys that want playing time.
But the first thing I want to ask is Mark Sears going to play less minutes? He played over 30 minutes in both of the exhibition games. Last year, he averaged about 38 minutes a game. He almost played every minute, it seemed like. He had short rest, unless he happened to get into foul trouble or beat up a little bit. But I don't remember him ever really getting to that situation. So it seemed like every game, Mark was playing 37, 38 minutes. And I thought to myself, well, with this expanded roster, you could sort of rest Mark and sort of spread him out over the season, maybe having pressure when you get to the end of the year. But then I watch these two exhibition games, and he's on the floor all the time, and it's everyone else that's rotating in, and getting 10 minutes, 19 minutes, 17 minutes of playing time, 20, 21 minutes, and then Mark has the 30 plus. So I think that's what we'll see. But that's why this one tonight is so important. I feel good Alabama's going to win it. I just want to see how Nate's going to manage a real game with all the people back, almost all of them back healthy. So I mean, I'm excited to see that. But keeping them happy is another thing too.
Right.
I think winning is important. Like if you're winning, everybody's happy. If you go on a losing streak, people are going to want their shots. And then just holding everybody together in this day of NIL, where you have this many high quality star players.
It's not easy.
It's not easy to manage them and keep everybody happy.
But you have to think.
And you're together a lot too.
Right.
I mean, you're together a lot. You play 2 games a week, sometimes 3 games a week. Travel, so you're around each other a lot. You've done these practices now for 7 weeks. If you're disgruntled, it can really disrupt the team. If you got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that aren't happy with playing time, so keeping everybody happy and pulling in the same direction, I think, is really important too. It's why I picked Auburn to win the national championship last year. Not to bring up a sore subject, but coming out of Nashville, I thought that team totally was pulling everything in the right direction and peaking at the right time. I thought they were ready to make a run, and it was Alabama that ended up. They got that Grand Canyon win, and all of a sudden that team was as bonded and tight as I'd seen it all year long, and they rode that all the way to the Final Four. Sports is a quirky thing, and Nate will manage the psychology of this roster.
Well, and what did I say after all won the SEC or the SEC tournament? I said this terrifies me.
I'm gonna say Pete maybe right there.
Well, that's what I said. I don't
Yeah.
love it. Obviously, I mean, I love that they won, but at the same time, it worried me. But I mean, I don't think that they would have lost that game. Which I think Missouri didn't get ejected.
I don't either.
But can't change it. So it is what it is.
And winning that first game in the NCAA tournament is always so tricky. And then sometimes you can get a momentum going, and it happens. And survive in advance. That's what that's about.
Survive in advance. Okay, we'll end on this. This is just kind of an interesting statement that I would love to hear your thoughts on. Andy said, "I'd take Bama and Auburn over Duke and North Carolina right now, better coaches and players." Which, who thought that we would live
I know.
in a time where you wouldn't read that and say, absolutely not. What are you?
I mean, to your point, I think the SEC will get 9 teams into the NCAA tournament. If I had to guess right now, I'd put that number at 5 for the ACC, or 6.
Well, hey, we'll get to see both of these matchups.
That's right. We get to
in
see
December 4th.
Alabama. That's just a month away.
Right.
A month from today.
Yeah, a month
right?
from today.
Month from today, Bama, North Carolina, Auburn, Duke up there on Tobacco Road.
Yeah.
And so we'll get to see those. But I don't hate. I mean, the tradition is there, but I don't hate your thinking, Andy. I like where Alabama and Auburn is right now, and part of that is NIL money. SEC makes more money than the ACC, and right now we can spend that money on basketball too.
Yeah, makes 4 months of the year a lot more entertaining once football season ends.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're ready to go. Basketball season.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're gonna go inside and do the pregame stuff. Taylor will be kicking that out all night long, and then postgame afterwards. And then tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. live on the next round, 9 to 12 Central Time. If you've stumbled upon this for the first time ever, subscribe on all these channels here, or follow us on all these channels. Give us a thumbs up, like and comment, and let's roll. It's basketball season. See you from Coleman.